Our trip to Colorado Springs was planned so we could visit our son Ray. On our way, we went through the Oak Creek Canyon area, which is south of Flagstaff. In the 50s, Disney filmed some of his nature studies here, and one can certainly see why, given the beauty of the canyon. Some of these red rocks are named quite appropriately. For example, Coffee Pot Rock, Bell Rock, Chimney Rock, and Sugarloaf, to name a few. We spent the night in Sedona and visited a quaint plaza where many local artists can be found. Here's a shot of Joe at the Tlaquepaque Arts and Crafts Plaza. Our first sightseeing adventure was Pikes Peak. We took the cog rail train to the top, 14,110 feet. It took 1.5 hours for the 8-mile ride up and 1.25 hours coming down. We rose from 6,570 feet at Manitou Springs to the 14,000 foot level at the summit. Along the way, we enjoyed the scenery and the narration of our cog rail guide, who was very knowledgeable on the history of the rail, the mountain, and surrounding areas. When we arrived at the summit, we all experienced some altitude symptoms. Joe dizziness, Fran a headache, and Ray lightheadedness. Nevertheless, we enjoyed the 30 minutes we were allowed, taking in one breathless view after another, from what seemed to be the top of the world. It is said that on a clear day, when there's very little humidity, one can see as far away as Kansas. Colorado Springs, from this height, seems just as small as a toy village. The cog rail trains work on a very tight schedule and reservations are required. For the return trip back to Manitou Springs, should you fail to board the train at your scheduled time, your only option will be to walk down.
Garden of the Gods is a public city park in Colorado Springs. Its main feature is its beautiful and unusual rock formations. Ray took us to one of his favorite outlooks early one morning. The early rising sun seemed to set the beautiful red rocks on fire. Here are some of the unusual rock formations. The Kissing Camels. The formations on the left is Ship's Rock, and the one on the right is called Balancing Rock. We spent a good portion of the day driving through the park. There are so many activities: hiking, picnicking, horseback riding, and some of the best photo opportunities in the area.
Lieutenant Zebulon Pike and his men, who traveled through the area in November and December 1806, were the first American explorers to view the Arkansas River Canyon, now known as the Royal Gorge. A small party from the Major Stephen Long expedition visited the mouth of the canyon in 1820, as did members of Lieutenant John Fremont's expedition in 1845. In 1878, a right-of-way through the Royal Gorge became the focal point of a bitter struggle between the Denver and Rio Grande and the Atchison Peak and Santa Fe Railroads, with the Denver and Rio Grande eventually winning the route through court action. Congress ceded the land comprising the Royal Gorge Park to Cannon City in 1806, and the world's highest suspension bridge, spanning the Arkansas River 1,053 feet below, was built in 1929.
The Royal Gorge turned out to be an unexpected pleasant surprise. We discovered that there are many ways to enjoy the tallest suspension bridge in the world. We first walked across it and paused in the middle to watch the Arkansas River flowing over 1,000 feet below us. Although we wanted to return by trolley, Fran insisted that we walk over it again so she could take more pictures. I could hardly blame her. Although we were over 6,000 feet above sea level and the bridge was partially obstructed from view by clouds, it was still a spectacular sight. We took the inclined railroad system to the bottom of the gorge. On the way down, we could see the returning rail cars coming towards us. We knew that there wasn't enough room for both of us on the track we were on. However, there was a side track that just allowed us to pass with a little more than an inch to spare. At the bottom of the gorge, you could almost feel the history. The old railroad station, the decaying water system with its old wooden pipes. You could almost hear the oohs and ahs from the first explorers that discovered this beautiful canyon. Then a train from the old Denver-Rio Grande Railroad came roaring in with a load of tourists. They quickly shattered my illusions and brought me back to 1999. The bridge looks to be about the size of a pencil from the bottom. If you really feel adventurous, you can take the aerial tramway across the gorge. I took it, but couldn't convince Fran and Ray to go with me. You ride about 100 yards parallel to the bridge, giving you a great view of the bridge. The next day, Ray took us to the Seven Falls, called the grandest mile of scenery in Colorado. The best way to see the falls is from the Eagle's Nest. You can get to the Eagle's Nest by climbing a 185-foot stairway, or you can do what we did, use the elevator. There's another stairway that runs alongside the falls. It's much higher than 185 feet and has a rest area in the middle. Like the aerial tramway at Royal Gorge, I got to do it all by myself. I thought the view was well worth it, though. However, I was glad that we used the elevator on the Eagle's Nest. On the way back from the falls, Raymond took us by this artist's house, and we admired some of the artwork in his front yard.
Here we are on our way back home. We took the northern route, which runs from the west of Denver to Utah. What fascinating rock formations, one right after another. Joe got a little carried away taking footage from atop a high ledge, and it certainly made me nervous. Our plan was to spend the night in Vegas, but when we arrived there, it was pouring rain, so we decided to continue on home. We arrived home at 9:15 p.m. after 16 and a half hours of driving. We thoroughly enjoyed visiting with Raymond, and we look forward to another trip to Colorado next year.